When most people think of intercontinental ballistic missiles, they picture something like this. Stereotypical Cold War era, 1950s spies in trench coats, communists versus the United States. And that is partly true. The intercontinental ballistic missiles have significantly shaped the politics of the world for the last half of the 20th century. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, got their start in World War II with the German V-2 rockets. These rockets were the most advanced missiles ever produced up to date, and they significantly laid the groundwork for the modern missiles that we have today. According to G. Harry Stein's book, ICBM, The Making of a Weapon That Changed the World, the Germans waited too long to use them and too few were made. The book German Guided Missiles by Heinz Norwa shows how German scientists kept working on their missiles and production right up until the end of the World War. However, these weapons were not truly intercontinental. They only were able to strike targets within Europe. However, the other Axis power, Japan, invented their own intercontinental ballistic weapon, although it was not a missile. It was a balloon called Fugo. The Fugo balloons, according to most experts, were designed in retaliation against the Doolittle raid in Japan. The Doolittle raid was a special team of American bombers that struck Tokyo and Yokohama in the early 40s, right after Pearl Harbor. While the raids did not do much damage, they had a significant psychological effect on the Japanese. Most Japanese up until that time believed that their home islands were invincible. The purpose of the Fugo was to attack America in the same way Japan had been attacked, quickly, without warning, and to cause great psychological fear within the American populace. In the Curious History of Japan's Balloon Bomb Attack on America by Ross Cohen, research shows that only about 10,000 balloons were made. Out of those 10,000, about 1,000 were ever recovered or documented in North America. Most landed in Alaska, the Northwest Territories in Canada, Washington, Oregon, and a few landed in the Midwest, and even a few ended up in northern Mexico. The Fugo's only purpose was to spread fear and terror into the hearts and minds of the Americans. And to that, it worked. There was a massive censorship program the military imposed during the war to keep panic down. And the only people ever killed by Fugos were 1 pregnant woman and 5 children on a Sunday school picnic in Oregon. However, the groundwork laid by German scientists was used by the Americans and the Soviets. Even though the United States and the United Soviet Socialist Republics were allies during World War II, hostilities and bad feelings started as soon as the war ended. The Americans were furious that the Soviets had taken over Eastern Europe and parts of East Asia, and the Soviets and the Americans refused to listen to any Soviet demands. The Yalta Conference displayed this icy relationship. According to When the Wall Came Down by Slarge Schleiman, the Soviets refused to allow free elections in Eastern Europe, and Americans also refused to listen to any Soviet requests. Operation Paperclip was an American secret mission to bring ex-German scientists to America. They wanted their expertise and to keep them out of Soviet hands. This caused some tension between the two countries, although the Soviet Union did the exact same thing. So the Soviet Union had an ICBM called the R-7. While America did not aggressively pursue ICBMs as much as the Soviets did, because for the post-war era they relied on their superb long-range bombers. And the theory was that long-range bombers were enough to win any more wars, and that ICBMs were not necessary. Also, there was some xenophobia and slight racism against the Soviets. Most American military planners considered to be incompetent, drunk fools that were only capable of winning wars in mass numbers, and very low in the intelligence spectrum. However, in Korea, the Korean War demonstrated how easily huge bombers could be shot down by the new jet fighters and anti-aircraft rockets. So American technology began to march into full swing to develop American intercontinental ballistic missiles. The General Electric Company was at the forefront of development in New Mexico. They soon came up with a weapon called the Atlas. The Atlas was America's first intercontinental ballistic missile. And Neil Shearman's book, A Fiery Peace in a Cold War, shows how the Soviet Union couldn't afford to spend as much as the United States in means of money, resources, and expertise. So when they tried to keep up, they began to lose money, and everyone knows that's how the Cold War ended. The Soviets just could not keep up with American military spending. And when the Berlin Wall came down in 1991, the world sighed relief that nuclear fears had finally been alleviated. So in total, we can see that the Nazis wanted a weapon to hold off defeat. The Japanese wanted revenge on America. The Soviets wanted a deterrent against the capitalist West and to be able to spread their socialist revolution. America wanted an ICBM to protect themselves and from the USSR and other foreign enemies.